Hello, good people of YouTube. Today we're going to talk about AIOps Explained, and we are in the release mini-series of the IBM Cloud Pak version 4.5 release news. And today we're going to talk about backup and restore using IBM Storage Fusion. And today's guest speaker is Viraj Vyas, and he's part of the cloud software developer community in IBM Research and Development. And this is the total overview of all the videos that we have in the MIDI series. And today we are here. So the last but three, backup and restore using IBM Storage Fusion. And if you want to have a read, a starting point into where the documentation is covering all that, here is a link. Backup and Restoring IBM Cloud Pak for AIOps, and this is under Administration of the Cloud Pak. And now, without further ado, over to you. Take us away, please.
Okay, then I'll start share and I can go through the backup and restore using Fusion. Okay, so this is the how we can use Fusion to do backup and restore. This goes to the geo redundancy called standby solution. That the starting point of it. It's the collaboration effort between the IBM Storage Fusion and the AIOps team. The agenda for today is. I'll go through why we need a backup and restore, then I will go through the simplistic diagram and then detailed diagram of how it works, and then do some demo. We'll go run through the documentation and Fusion UI to do demo, and then we'll go through the recipe, how recipe was created and what it includes, and what is its current state and what's coming in future. So the reason why we needed a Fusion to do backup and restore is we had a backup and restore steps using the Valero, but the problem with those steps are they were manual storage management needed. There was a downtime while taking a backup, especially around Cassandra and PostgreSQL, and the restore was in specific order, and manual. If it doesn't, if you want to wait in specific order, it doesn't work. To achieve a redundant solution, especially cold standby, we need some automated tool to achieve the backup and restore. So, and that's where we use the Fusion. So if you can see right hand side diagram, it's a simplistic version of the Fusion and AIOps, how it works together. So as you can see that on the top, there is a the cluster A, where the AIOps and Fusion runs along with each other. Then we configure Fusion in a way so it knows where to store AIOps backed up data, and the Fusion's requirement is to store backup data into the object storage, which we configure while configuring the Fusion. Then we set up a policy on the Fusion how often we want to take a backup, and then we assign a recipe that what needs to backup and how to restore. And once those configuration is done, they're based on the policy of the Fusion, it starts taking backup on the object storage. And while we want to restore, we do on the cluster B, we do run Fusion in the hub mode. There is a hub and spoke architecture of Fusion. I'll discuss in the next slide. And using the UI, we can restore AIOps onto the cluster B. Now, as I mentioned, there is a Fusion supports the hub and mode. What does it mean? So as you can see on the diagram, on the left-hand side, there is a cluster, primary cluster, cluster P, where the IOPS and the Fusion is running along with each other. We configure Fusion so it can talk to the object storage, and it has got a policy configured. On the right-hand side, the cluster B, there is a Fusion running in a spoke mode, and it connects to the object storage and backed up cache via the hub. And we can have multiple spoke with connected to single hub. An idea being is if you want to restore onto multiple cluster, you can do it that way. And using the Fusion Hub UI, the user can restore AIOps onto the Fusion spoke. So now to demo it, I'm going to go through the documentation and I'm going to give you a UI, how this UI looks, the Fusion UI looks, and how the backup and restore works. So if I'll go through documentation, so this is the structure of documentation. This is the overview, what it is. Then there are storage requirements that the user have to have S3 compatible storage to store the AIOps backup. There is what should be the capacity of that, the S3 storage, and the AIOps should be installed on top of the CSI compatible storage type. Otherwise, this backup and restore doesn't work. So these are the prerequisite, the requirement before user can do backup and restore using the Fusion. Now, the structure of this document, there are subsection. One of them says that how to backup. Another one is how to restore, and there is a troubleshooting section as well. So if you go through the backup, as you can, there are a number of steps in here. The first step is says that there should be a volume snapshot class configured. That's a prerequisite of the Fusion. And if it's not configured, there is a link how to configure. Then the IBM Storage Fusion should be installed. So the way user can install it is via UI. If they have got correct the catalog, then they can go at Operator Hub and they can see the IBM Storage Fusion. And you can see this IBM Storage Fusion is installed here. And once it's been installed, the user can access the Fusion UI through these squares on top. And by clicking on it, it goes to the Fusion UI. Now in Fusion UI, because I already installed the backup and restore service, but when it's not installed, what user can see is user can see under the service section there are a number of services available from the Fusion. And for the backup and restore, we use the backup restore and backup restore agent services of the Fusion. To configure the backup and restore service, user click on the backup and restore service and they click on install. And when they click on install, the user mentioned that which storage is currently, because this is the fire environment and we use Ruxf to install our AIOps. It's showing as a Ruxf, but if user has got different storage type, it appears under this one, and user choose which one, which storage type needs to backup and click on install. Once that is done, then user can see there are multiple options appears under the backup and storage section on the Fusion UI. And the first thing user do is user configure the location. This location user have to have S3 compatible object storage, and the user can add it. It can be either on Azure, IBM Cloud, or it can be somewhere else the S3 compatible storage. Once user add that location, user can create a policy. The policy is the when user create a policy, user mention how frequent they want to take a backup and where they want to take backup. Again, this is the location that we configured before, and what is the retention period. Once the policy has been created, already created this AIOps policy in here. Once policy has been created, user select that which application needs backup. They click on this protect tabs and then they select the cluster. And because I already selected AIOps application, won't appear in here. But if it wasn't selected, it appears underneath here, and user can click on that one and it can configure which policy needs to take backup. And there are documented steps. Once that is done, then how user can apply the recipe to it. So there are steps in here. And there are, before applying the recipe, there are prerequisite that user needs to do. And once that is done, user can download recipe from this location, which is here on the public version of GitHub repo. Once user download that recipe, user can apply that recipe and assign it to the application. Once that is done, it's basically following this documentation steps. Once that is done, then the way user can take backup is click on the application. Once it appears, user can either click on backup now, or based on the policy that user had created, the Fusion itself start taking a backup automatically, and all backups comes under this backup section. So this is how user create a hub cluster. For the spoke cluster, what user does is same. They have to install the Fusion operator. So as you can see, the Fusion operator, the Fusion storage operator is already being installed in here. And when it's installed, the user this time select the backup and restore agent instead of backup and restore. And when they click on it, it asks you that what should be the hub connection snippet. The way user get this is from the topology and then connect cluster Fusion UI, and it gives the what should be the hub configuration, and they can copy the snippet and put it underneath configuration here and choose which storage type, using it to make sure that it should be same storage type that the hub cluster had. Once that is done, user can see that the backup and restore agent configured correctly and it's healthy. Once that is done, then user can restore application. To restore application, user goes to the backed up application, choose the backups that it has got, and it click on the latest backup and click on restore. When user click on restore, it's a new cluster and which hub does it need to backed up. So I'll choose this backup and click in here and click restore, will restore application on that cluster. This is how backup and restore works. So what recipe includes, and this is where we had to collaborate with the Fusion team to create this recipe. So recipe includes what resources needs backup and the what resources and which sequence it needs to restore. If you can go through this URL, you can see that recipe tells which PVC to back up first, which secrets, which config map needs to back up. So we can restore AIOps application on the different cluster. The current state is the backup and restore works fine. It's been released with the IOPS 4.5. So that's it. That's what I want to show. Over to you.
Thank you, Viraj. That was really cool. I liked it. And thank you to the audience for spending time with us, listening to another part of the mini-series AIOps Explained. And I'd like to see you again and hear you again in another part when it's about AIOps Explained. Bye.